Hello everyone, welcome to another knowledge lesson. We have been learning lots about westward expansion in the United States. I'm going to use our map that we've been working on to talk about some of the things that we learned about. Let's start with the Erie Canal. Remember, the Erie Canal was a waterway that was built between Lake Erie and the Hudson River to make steamboat travel possible. When Robert Fulton invented the steamboat, a lot of people were very excited, but it didn't solve all of their problems because steamboats could only go where there was water, and there wasn't water everywhere, which is why people built canals like the Erie Canal. We also talked about the Oregon Trail. The Oregon Trail that we marked here in red started in Missouri and ended in Oregon Territory. The Oregon Trail was the path that many pioneers took when they moved out west. Remember, the East Coast over here started to get pretty crowded, and so people wanted to move westward to have a better life, more land, and to start an adventure. We also talked about the Trail of Tears. The Trail of Tears was a path that the Cherokee people were forced to march from their homes and businesses in Georgia to modern-day Oklahoma, but what was then was just called Indian Territory. This was a very sad time in American history, and the Cherokee people were not treated very fairly. We also learned about a very important Cherokee person. That man's name was Sequoyah, and he wanted the Cherokee people to be able to pass on their stories and be remembered. But the Cherokee people only had a spoken language and passed their stories down orally or by telling them out loud. Sequoyah invented a written Cherokee language. Alright, we also talked about the Transcontinental Railroad, which is marked here in yellow. This one started in Omaha, Nebraska, and ended in California. Remember, there were two different railroad companies that worked on this track, and they met in the middle, right here in Utah. The Transcontinental Railroad made it easier to ship goods and people across the country. It was a much easier way to travel than by covered wagon or on horses. Speaking of horses, we also need to talk about this green line that represents the Pony Express. Remember, back then people didn't have cell phones or computers, and they couldn't talk to people immediately the way we can now. So the Pony Express was invented as a faster way to carry mail. Riders on horseback would run kind of a relay with the mail, where one rider would pass it on to the next, and they would each run their own leg of the journey. But the Pony Express was not necessary for very long because soon the telegram was invented, which allowed people to communicate instantly. So it only ran for about a year before it was no longer necessary. Alright, my friends, we have a lot to do today, so we are going to get started right away. I'm going to have you go ahead and open up the PDF that is attached to this assignment. That PDF should look like this. On this first part, these first 2 pages, there are 6 different pictures. I'm going to have you take just a minute to look at each of those pictures carefully. For this first part, I am going to read 6 different sentences. Each sentence, I'll give you a number. So sentence number 1 will explain what is happening in one of these pictures. You're going to look at these pictures carefully and decide which one best represents what I'm describing in my sentence for number 1. And you'll write a number 1 next to that picture. All right, my friends. Number 1 says, Robert Fulton invented a steamboat, the Clermont, to travel up and down the Hudson River. Which of these 6 pictures best represents Robert Fulton and his steamboat that he invented to travel up and down the Hudson River? Write a number 1 next to the picture that best shows that. Remember, if you need to pause or go back and listen to any of my sentences again, you are welcome to do so. Number 2, the opening of the Erie Canal joined the Atlantic Ocean to Lake Erie and to the Great Lakes and beyond. Write a number 2 next to the picture that best represents the Erie Canal. Number 3, the Union Pacific and the Central Pacific joined their tracks at Promontory Point, Utah, to form the Transcontinental Railroad. Write a number 3 on the line next to the picture that best represents the Transcontinental Railroad. Number 4, the most famous route for settlers headed west was the Oregon Trail. Put a number 4 next to the picture that best represents the Oregon Trail. Again, that was number 4. Number 5, 3 businessmen started the Pony Express to speed up mail delivery between St. Joseph, Missouri and Sacramento, California. Write a number 5 next to the picture that best represents the Pony Express. And number 6, Sequoyah finished creating a writing system for the Cherokee people. Write a number 6 next to the picture that best represents Sequoyah creating a writing system for the Cherokee people. All right, when you have numbered each of those pictures 1 through 6, go ahead and scroll down to this 3rd page. If you need to go back and re-listen to some of those prompts, some of those sentences, that's okay, go ahead and do that. Pause this video until you are ready for the next part. On this next part, we have a map that looks just like the one we worked on throughout all of our lessons. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions about the locations on this map, or some of the things that we learned about. Remember, the map legend or key is there to help you. There are different symbols that represent different things that are on the map. Use this to help you. So if I ask you, where one of these things started or ended, you can find, so if I'm talking about the Oregon Trail, you're going to find the symbol that matches on the map, and you'll be able to see where it started or where it ended. This will help you answer those questions. Our first question says, what waterway was built to connect the Hudson River and the Great Lakes? Remember, if you need to pause in between questions, that's totally okay. Number 2, where did the Oregon Trail begin? And number 3, in 1869, what method of travel connected Omaha, Nebraska and San Francisco, California? All right, my friends, remember, if you need to go back and listen to those questions again, that's totally okay. Remember to use the legend and the map to help you answer those questions. When you are finished, go ahead and scroll down to the next part, and we will get started on that part. All right, my friends, we have done lots of tests like this one before. This one we're going to be talking about some of the vocabulary words that we learned about in this domain. I am going to ask a question about one of our vocabulary words for each number. If the answer to my question is yes, you'll circle the thumbs up, and if the answer to my question is no, you'll circle the thumbs down. There was a printing mistake in our book, and they've circled the thumbs up on the first one for you. Don't let that mess you up or trip you up. I will read number 1. You tell me if you think it's a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Don't worry about the circle around number 1. As always, my friends, you may pause the video in between questions if you need some more time to think about the answer, or you can go back and listen to them again if you would like to hear it again. All right, let's get started. Number 1, hardships. Are hardships difficult situations that cause discomfort or suffering? Number 2, pioneers. Are the people who first settled in new areas of the frontier called pioneers? Number 3, communicate. Does the word communicate refer to how we move people or things from one place to another? Number 4, settled. Does the word settle mean to move to a new place and make it your home? Number 5, territory. Is a territory a region or an area of land? Number 6, transportation. Does the word transportation mean to tell someone something? Number 7, route. Is a route the way we get from one place to another? Number 8, wagon train. Is a wagon train a train that carries wagons? Nine, canal. Is a canal a waterway used to move things from place to place using boats? Number 10, landmarks. Are objects or structures on land that are easy to recognize called landmarks? We've got a few more on the next page. Number 11, back. Is the back of something, such as a boat, the opposite of the front? Number 12, create. If you create something, do you make something that did not exist before? Thirteen, convenient. When something is convenient, does it require a lot of effort or trouble? Fourteen, endurance. Does the word endurance mean having the strength to do something for a long time? Fifteen, voyage. Is a voyage a trip or a journey? All right, my friends, when you are ready, again, if you need to go back and listen to any of those questions again, that's totally fine. When you are ready for the next part, go ahead and scroll down to the next page. On this page, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions about the things we learned about during our domain on westward expansion. Again, if the answer to my question is yes, you'll circle the thumbs up or fill in the thumbs up. If the answer to my question is no, you'll circle or fill in the thumbs down. All right. Number 1. Was the name Iron Horse a nickname given to the horses used for the Pony Express? Number 2. Did pioneer families who traveled the Oregon Trail in wagon trains have an easy trip? Number 3. Did Sequoyah think it was important to capture the Cherokee language in writing? Number 4. Did many pioneer families move west for a better life? Number 5. Was Robert Fulton the inventor of the steamboat? Number 6. Did boats use the Erie Canal to travel all the way to the Pacific Ocean? That was number 6. Number 7. Was the Trail of Tears the forced march of the Cherokee from their homes to what was called Indian Territory by the U.S. government? And number 8. Is the Pony Express still used today to deliver mail in the United States? All right, my friends, we have been doing a lot of hard work today and we are almost done. We've got one more section. On this section, there are some open-ended questions. I want you to answer these questions in complete sentences. You'll get 1 point for having a correct answer and 1 point for having a complete sentence. So even if you get all of your answers correct, you won't do very well unless they are all written in full sentences. Make sure you are writing in complete sentences for each question. Again, if you need more, I'm going to read them pretty quickly. I'm going to have you pause after I read the question and then press play again after you've answered it in a complete sentence. So make sure you pause because I'll be going pretty fast through these. So pause in between each question so you have enough time to answer it. Number 1 says, why did many pioneer families choose to move to the West in the 1800s? Number 2, why were the development of steamboats, the Erie Canal, and the Transcontinental Railroad important during the time of westward expansion? Number 3, what problems did westward expansion cause for Native Americans? Number 4, why is the Pony Express no longer an important means of communication. And number 5, what was Sequoia's significant invention? All right, everyone, when you are finished with all of those pages, I know it's a lot today. We did a lot of really good work today. When you are finished with all of them, remember if you are missing some of the questions, you can always go back and listen to them again. Make sure they are all filled out. When it is all finished, go ahead and turn it in, and you are all done with Westward expansion. We'll start learning about something else in our next lesson tomorrow.